In association with Get a Tax Rebate, 1895 Sports, Mesa Vienna Aesthetics, CDX Security.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the Oddball Woody Show, and today's guest is someone who fascinated me really, because just been saying off camera how this person, I played against him throughout his career at Salford, and I knew him off the field. Some of the days when we used to go out with Ian Sibbett and Dave Harton in Wigan Snooker Club and have a couple of beers and play free card brag. Might not tell any of them stories, but I ended up coming out of retirement in 2018, and this guy was the coach of the Swinton Lions, and I was really taken back with his coaching philosophies and his attitude and how he spoke about mindset and, you know, the way that he interacted with his players. It were really, I would say that I'd seen a great deal of maturity really from what we'd seen, and you know, that I just found that really impressive. So to get him on the show today, and I think we'll speak about his rugby career at Salford and Swinton and at Lee. He's represented Ireland, and he's also the coach of Ireland as well. So we will touch on that, but I'm more interested in his coaching philosophies and how he's got the, you know, and what he's learned during his playing career. So it's Stuart Littler. Cheers, Stu.
Hi, mate. You all right?
Yeah, not so bad. We always start off with asking people what they've been up to, because it's, you know, it's a bit of an unusual time at the minute, and I know you work in education, so it's peculiar for yourself at the minute.
Yeah, obviously it's a bit different than last lockdown because we have been constantly in school, and also I've got a job obviously at Swinton with coaching with that. Swinton, first of all, has been a bit stop-start. We did get a period where we were postponed from training, which wasn't ideal. We have been in this as a team training because we're classed as elite sports since December. We couldn't start when we wanted to start, but with the season starting a bit later, it didn't really affect that as we build towards the season. Now things are starting to progress again. We can get back with a bit of contact. Obviously, there were stages where we're at stage 1 plus, where you can only do straight line running and different interaction. But we thought it was really important for the lads with that mindset, like you said, and the mental well-being of being in a group together, because you can do as much training as you want on your own, but you know yourself, and you miss that camaraderie with the lads. You miss someone pushing you and stuff. So yeah, really excited now. The games are coming around the corner. We've got a friendly booked in a week on next Saturday, so we'll go to Bradford and have a friendly before, and then there's a 2-week break before the season starts. We've got Newcastle in the Challenge Cup, which will be a tough encounter. Away from rugby, I obviously teach over at Everton High School. Again, strange times, a bit different than last time. We have still got some children in school, so obviously the vulnerables and the key worker groups. But most of our lessons have now moved to remote access and online learning with the introduction of teams and stuff. Schools are a lot more prepared than what there was at the first lockdown, and it's been great to see people adapt and come up with new theories and changing how learning goes on and stuff, and adapting to what's been thrown at us, and that's what we're all about, both in rugby and education wise. Like you said, a big thing with that is checking in on well-being, because there's a lot of stress on parents at the moment, and parents aren't qualified teachers. Myself, I am a qualified teacher within sport and stuff. I don't really teach that anymore, but more the attendance and behaviour side. But I wouldn't think if I went in covering a DT lesson, it'd be the best DT lesson you've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? I could probably cover it and probably blag it a bit, but you're expecting parents to. This time the curriculum's continued, and last time it stopped, so you're keeping learners where they're at. This time they've got to keep going, so otherwise you're going to be 6 weeks behind. So it has been tricky, and it's to keep touching base with people and building that confidence that the people are doing the right thing and they're trying their best, you know. And again, it's a strange situation. It's going to have impact at some point, but like anything, it's how you come out of that impact. Are you going to let that determine your future, or are you going to kick on when and if we come back in and how that looks like. Yeah, so pretty busy, to be fair, mate. I've been in work every day, and apart from last week's been half term, and then obviously at Swinton we train Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Currently we're testing twice a week, so I'm probably the most tested man in England on COVID, mate. So I get 2 tests at school and 2 tests at Swinton, so I'm on 4 a week at the moment.
You use the word adaptation there, and it's no matter what we're involved in our work, I think over the last 12 months since we went in that first lockdown, we've just had to adapt so much, and the world's changed now, and I think some for the better and some not. And the reason I said that is I think it has sort of hit a reset button with a lot of people. It's made them value what's important in their life. But now technology's just absolutely taken off. We're doing this over Zoom today. There's teams, school and educating over the computer. I know myself, having 3 kids at home, it's an absolute nightmare. It makes you appreciate what teachers do for a living, because I couldn't handle my kids on a full-time basis. How have the lads adapted, Stu, to coming in? And obviously, as rugby players, we're quite physical and we like to get involved in the contact element stuff and the ball work. So how did lads adapt to that, just coming in and running in a straight line? Was they just happy to be back in, or?
Well, yeah, so obviously the first lockdown was tricky, mate, because we didn't know whether we was going to come back or when it was, because it was just meant to be for a couple of months, wasn't it, at first, and then we were back to playing. So we sent out some home sessions and stuff like that, but then obviously as a staff, we're big on that togetherness and that family, and we're probably missing that banter bit as a team, and it used to have a consequence on a Tuesday night with a bit of a court and stuff like that. So we started putting some other tasks out to our lads with different tasks, like just go and bake a cake, or we had to rate my plate, and everyone sent it in on WhatsApp and stuff, and a bit of banter with that, like saying what start you've cooked, and a bit of crack, because we're missing that. But to be fair, I've got an honest group. We've got a young, honest, hungry group who want to learn, and they bought in everything Doug sent out as a conditioner. Dougie's group was great through the lockdown as well. He was even giving examples of himself doing it. He put a picture on, probably taking mick out of himself at times, do you know what I mean, and doing it and competing with lads. And obviously I did a bit of blasting. I started training myself, to be fair. Probably let myself go a bit, mate. Feel miles better now for it. And then since Christmas kicked on again this year, with in this lockdown, with a bit more running and biking and stuff. But yeah, lads have been great. Like I say, it's a bit hard when we went back in and then we get to certain elements of contact, and even you couldn't, when it went to that 1+, you can't even do like a 3 against 2 because they're in front of them, so you can't have any. You could do hands, but you have to be running a straight line and then come back down another. And again, it challenges us as coaches, because you've got to come up with different strategies. We use poles, we use cones. You're not ideal, but you just got to go to what we've got. And obviously, we're in a lot better place as a club now as well, because obviously the board's really bought into what I'm about and what I want and what we want to achieve as a staff, but also what we want to achieve off the pitch. So we've now got our own gym, which we never had before. We've got our own gym, our own wrestle area for when we can use the wrestle area. And then obviously we've got the significant partners in the AJ Bell Stadium. So obviously we've got the fields access, which is 3G, and the quality field outside. So as a club, we're in a lot stronger position now, and it's just sticking to the protocols. We did have an RFL, obviously, spot check last week, which obviously come down and obviously gives you what you're doing well and some development points regarding that. And like I say, it is new for everyone. You're trying to keep your distance. You're trying to facilitate lads putting hand sanitizer on when halfway through a session when you're not really used to it. And you know yourself, if I'm telling you put this on. Some lads are paranoid about catching ball and got spray on their hands and stuff. But yeah, so it's just different. It's just a new norm. But like I said, the lads have ripped into everything we've done. I did apologise for 2 weeks. I said 2 weeks, it's not going to be the most interactive sessions, as a group. But I do think it's important for us to be as a group. And even if we run that unopposed, we can imagine people in front of us. We can imagine what we're doing. It just gets them calls and them triggers in our head and getting us used to that, like forming good habits within our processes. Obviously, was a bit behind then, probably in front on the field, but a bit behind regarding the contact, which obviously has been ramped up, but we're still in contact bubbles. Our contact bubbles currently probably position specific, but when we go to playing, that's going to have to change because I can't have all my pack being out 1 week, I can't have all my backs being out, I can't have all my left side being out, I can't have all my right. So there's a lot of things going on. We've got a track and trace document where we've got to say whoever's been in contact with another player in training. We video all the sessions, so it's all the lads fill in a COVID, are now wellness and wellbeing daily. So we're monitoring that. Anyone who's got anything, we're keeping away. Just trying our best to minimise that, and obviously it is what it is. I don't know whether we're doing pretty well at the moment, and full credit to Lindsay and my medical team on that because they've been really on it. And like I said, we've just tried to move. We're moving with times. We've got the well-being stuff. So probably off the back of it, I've added some stuff in what I wanted to add in anyway, but it's given us that daily survey and stuff which we're probably missing as a staff. So it gives us that balance. And again, like anything, just asking lads be honest. Adaptability, like you said, is one of our obviously key values as a club. I changed that a couple of years ago to being one of the key values in because I didn't think we adapted really well. We went to Featherstone, it was York away in the Cup. York were a league lower than us, and it was a really snowy day. And I just think they adapted to the environment a lot better than us. I don't think we wanted to get off the coach and probably play them conditions, which it rang home with me. And some things get thrown out of your control at times. Everyone says control the controllables, but some things get thrown at you that's not in your control, and so you adapt to that. And obviously thinking about that, we can play on someone defending in a certain style. What they've done previously, but that doesn't mean they're going to play that style against us. Can we adapt to that, and can we change that game plan? I'm not a coach where I think I know everything, and I'm not a coach where I think, right, I've said this game plan, so we're sticking to it. I will change that. If I see something, we will change that on the move, and that's why we have a good staff around me who I can trust, and I expect them to raise things to me as well. Big believer in buying into my staff and being honest with them and them being honest with me. I'll always question, what's your team this week, which puts people on spot. I know when we did some stuff with Ireland, I sort of did it with my assistant coach, and he went, I didn't expect you to ask me that. And thinking, I said, what's your 17 and why? And then see if it's different than mine. And am I missing something? Or you see if 3 or 4 of my staff have got a different team to me, and am I missing something? Are they seeing something I'm not? And obviously it's challenging myself and challenging Vink Group. And then also, if I go back feeding back to a player, I say, listen, out of 5 of us, none of us had you in. Do you know what I mean? Out of 5 of us, 2 had you in and 3 didn't, and you're getting closer. Do you know what I mean? And it's giving us balance. It's always on me, end of the day. I sit at the top of the tree, but there's no point having a staff and not utilise them, I don't think. And 5 brains is better than 1.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? I think that's a great quality to have because some people don't like getting challenged, so they have the staff underneath them. And I've worked in environments where certain people don't want to be challenged by the staff lower than them. But I think that's a great quality, and I mention it quite a lot on the podcast. But I listen a lot to David Goggins, and funnily enough, I was listening to something yesterday on Twitter, and he said, people who surround themselves with people who make them feel comfortable, where's the growth in that? And I think for me personally, I think the best coaches that I've ever worked with and the best players have always had people around them that have challenged them to make them improve. And even today, my circle since coming away from rugby has got so much smaller because I do try and put myself around people who'll challenge what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And just to see if I can constantly learn something. I think that's a massive quality to see if you've got a different opinion from somebody else. I'm a little bit down the Brian Clough where we have a discussion about it for 20 minutes, then decide I was right.
I totally get it, and obviously, like I said, you don't build a staff, and there's no trust within that staff. There's no point in me having them. It's just me versus whoever, or my thoughts and people supporting. End of the day, we've got a trained strength conditioner. He's a trained strength conditioner, so he should know more about strength conditioning myself. I have touched on it a bit in my degree and stuff like that. But you've got to have trust. My medical staff, the trained medics, she tells me someone's back in 6 weeks. I can't say, well, he's back in 3 because he's, do you know what I mean? And we probably would have done that back in our day, do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And coaches probably was like that back then. But there's a bit more science behind behind that thought process now, and you've got to obviously trust in your staff that they're doing the right thing. 1 for the club, 2 for the player, but 3 for the organisation.
Yeah, I think what I'll do, Stu, is I'll take you back to just tell us a little bit about how you got into rugby league, because it'd be interesting listening to your story regarding your playing career and where you've picked up your philosophies, or whether them philosophies have always been embedded in you, and you've thought as a player that things should be done a specific way. So just take us back to the beginning where you first started playing.
As a young kid, or as
a young kid, when you was back in the day at the Lee amateur clubs.
Yeah, so I was just a one club man, me mate, as an amateur. I didn't go out clubs. So I'm a Lee Miners lad. Started it was back under 9s back then when I started. There was no clubs or under 7s or anything. So it was everyone ripped in at the under 9s. I started a year earlier, so I started when I was 7. 7 and 8 that year. I played a year above myself in with a good age group, to be fair, which the age group above had obviously we had players at Chris Lee and stuff like that as ours. He was a pretty special player back as a kid, but Paul Sculthorpe and that age group. And then obviously you go into your own age group, which Wigan was pretty strong. We was probably the second strongest around our area. Lee, we used to beat Leeds and your Warringtons, your Widnes, would beat them all, but it was the days when Wigan and Lee wasn't together as a town team. And Wigan town team, I think professionally had Paul Deacon, Mike Peters, Chris Causey, Martin Carney, Terry Newton, Tony Stewart, Paul Johnson. They had like a wonder team my age, and it was unreal, to be fair. And they split kind of between Orrell and Inley as kids, and they were probably 2 strongest teams. We probably got to the second best, but never. At one stage we were second best to Inley, and then at another stage we were second best to Orrell. So we got over beating one of them, but then other one come out of the side, and a few players moved around and stuff. But yeah, I'm still mates with all my mates who played from Winthrop since I was 7. We had a good team. We stuck together really. A few added to it through the times, but they've all got different jobs now. And like one lad's a police officer, one lad's a solicitor, one's a procurement manager. I was lucky enough to stay in rugby, and Radney played a bit of professional as well at semi-pro and stuff. And professional, played at London and stuff. And yeah, we had a good team and a good ethos where we all stuck together and stuff, and we all grew together. And then from that, I went to Wigan first of all. I probably one of the better ones when I was young, really young. Played for Lancashire and stuff like that, and then everybody grew and I didn't really. I still can't grow a beard now like you, like. And they all grew, and it gets hard, doesn't it, and tough. And I was one of the smaller ones till I probably only grew at 16, between 16 and 18. Me, I was a late developer. I know JP spoke over a week and stuff like that. I was a late developer himself, and yeah, they all kind of grew. And then I got to 16, and lads had signed elsewhere, and I was heading to Miners, and I thought, I'm going to train as hard as I can this off season, and I just get fit and just run. I just used to run, like not really a lot of gym, but just thought I'm going to go a bit fittest player on team. I'm trying my best, bit fittest on team, because I was only a rick rack. So I thought if I can run round and have loads of energy, then I'll get somewhere, and I might get in team, because obviously probably bouncing around our team, to be fair, at 16s, and then you're going in with that year above you again at 18s, and it's going up a notch again, and there's some good players in that team, and I was thinking you might not even get in it, do you know, like in team. So that's a challenge in itself. So I just thought I'd work hard, and then obviously second year at 18s, we had a great year, and a few scouts come looking and that, and looked at a few of us, to be fair, and probably a lot of Northwest teams was come talking to us and stuff, and I decided to go to Wigan at the time, because Wigan was the standout club. When you looked around the facilities and stuff, they had standard organisation, great coaches, great team. So I went over there for a year. Probably didn't fit in as well as I thought, and ended up going back to minors actually, and then luckily played some international amateur rugby, and then Salford come in for us again. They was in for us before I went Wigan, and Steve McCormack it was at the time, and he said would I come and play in the academy, and sort of I think I only played about 4 academy games, and I got put straight into reserves back then, and I ended up playing probably more Super League games that year than academy games, because same year I played obviously national conference for minors, but I played Super League at the end of that year for Andy Gregory and stuff, and then Steve ended up getting a job, and he obviously had been our academy coach, so we had a call with Simon Spavik and myself, and then we used to be obviously against your mates, Aiton and Duffy at Warrington, and then both ended up coming to Salford, and it's weird rugby, like you say. I know we all laugh because we wrote each other off the park and stuff like that, but back then they were probably key players for Warrington, we were key for Salford, and you don't really know people, and you think, oh, he's a bit of an idiot and stuff like that, but then me and Dave ended up best mates, and like Carl Harrison made us make a CD and stuff for lads, bump them up in gym and after games. So always been a bit about the crack and enjoying yourself. And I'm a big believer still in you've got to enjoy what you do. You know, I know I wasn't probably the easiest person to coach at times, because I probably did like a party at times and probably wrong times. And a big believer in you get your vibe from your tribe. But the game was different back then, you know, and that was the culture, and that was what was around, and you get educated as you go later in life, and like you said, is your philosophies you pick up. So I stayed at Salford, worked under some great coaches. Carl Harrison come in and obviously moulded a lot about professionalism. He come from a good organisation at Bradford under Brian Noble, and I know he did a bit of work with yourselves with England and stuff, and he come in and probably a scary character at times. He brought his sword in and come to some meetings. And I remember one time we sort of let ourselves down. We got relegated and we was away at Batley away, and we sort of let ourselves down. We still won the game, but he come in with his sword and told us it had killed so many Frenchmen. And if we didn't start playing well, we'd be killing someone else. So that kind of worked. And I've not used that one yet. I did ask him over here. We struggled at Featherstone, and I seen him at bar. I said, "Have you still got that sword? I could do with it taking it training Tuesday." But I don't know how lads would react to that one. Now it's a bit different now when you come in. But no, he did. He was great. I'd run through a wall for Carl. Like, do you know what I mean? I was never the most skillful player. I built my game around working hard, and like I said, I probably didn't get the opportunities early on, and I just carried that ethos. And if you work hard at something and want it enough, and eventually open enough doors, and somebody give you an opportunity, and yeah, things started to click. Obviously, I'd had some experiences before, but then things started to click together. And obviously, I think we finished top try scorer a couple of years there, and started building a bit of a reputation. Lucky enough to play for Salford for 13 seasons. Had a couple of opportunities to move away, but never felt like I needed to. It was a great man sitting at the top, which was John Wilkinson. I've still got massive respect for now, and he always was right. We had a core of players there, myself, Malcolm Olker, Paul Aiton, who did a good few years together, and Fitzy come on the scene, and you know we had some lads who probably stuck together, and again, never a team full of superstars, but we was a very Whitman-like team, especially under Carl, and we had Gavin Clinch and Andrew Dooneman and Luke Robinsons, and added a bit of spark and started to change the club there. So yeah, it was some good times. And then obviously you get old like anyone, and I was tossed and ahhing about going joining Gavin Clinch, to be fair, over in Australia. He was coaching collegians at the time, but then Ian Millward was a coach at Leigh, and he come and met me and spoke about playing for Leigh, and obviously being a Leigh boy myself, it's instilled. It's a rugby town, Leigh, and there's more rugby pitches in Leigh than football pitches, so that is really good. And he sold that vision on us and on where we want to be. My brother-in-law, Stuart Littler, was playing at Lee at the time, so my sister was obviously he was one of the co-captains and stuff, so my sister was down there. There's a bit of a family feel. Thought my parents could come and watch the games and stuff, and it just fit. And obviously, so went to Lee, and it was a good move. Really, we had a bit of success. We won a Northern Rail Cup. It was back when you couldn't really get promoted, so you had to win a cup or win the league to be able to apply for a franchise, which was a bit tricky at times. I should imagine for the club off the pitch, attracting sponsors and stuff like that. But yeah, we had it was Paul Rowley and obviously Ian Millward, and they kind of built the club around a big local element. So again, he had some players like Penke, who was my mate, and Tommy Goulding and Duffs, and there's a core of lads who were from like Lee, Wigan, Ashton, around that area, St Helens, and everybody like bought into it, what we were doing. A couple of years there, probably Fev would probably the other standout team when Darryl Powell was over at Fev, and probably disappointed ourselves in playoffs. Really, we let ourselves down one year against Batley at home, and should probably got to a final and done a bit better than what we did, but probably didn't turn up and end up bridesmaids rather than champions. We got that cup win, which was massive, and then towards the back end at Lee was probably started my coaching journey, and me and Duffs took over the under-18s. Obviously, I owe a lot of what I've got to John. John gave us an opportunity, asked us to help him out with the 18s. So we did that together, and we both went into the foundation. It was a Lee Centurions Foundation at the time. I got my PGCE, so I worked hard. Around 2008, I think 2009, I started a degree over at Leeds, which again helped me massively, just on what's behind a performance, on sports performance, and your nutrition and your strength conditioning. And again, educating yourself around that and seeing different people's viewpoints and reading up intellectual peer-assessed people who come up with thoughts and different thought processes than maybe what you thought about before. And it widened my horizons really with how I thought about things and how deeply I probably looked into things and reasons and why, what was behind things. So I went to university, passed that degree. Me and John started coaching the under-18s. It was pretty successful. It was only once a week, a team. They were still playing for minors, East, Rosebridge, Jude's, just lads who were playing probably similar to myself at 18s. And they come together to play a few games at Lee. But then we wasn't allowed to keep the team up and running. We won the league, but then you were only allowed by the RFL to have 50, I think it was 50 players registered, which we had the reserves as well at Lee at the time. So with the first team and then your reserves, there was no space for them lads, which was a bit of a shame because it was a big gap to go from under 16s to play reserves at championship level against some seasoned professionals, really, who could be in that reserve team. And it's a big jump for a 16-year-old kid, that. So probably was a step backwards for the club, basically, and for ourselves. And then I was getting older again there, started to get older at Lee as the father time clocks on. And the club went in a different way with players, and I just wanted to play rugby with it. You get to a certain age and you just want to play and don't want to be sat in a stand. And I could probably have easily sat in a stand and collected my money or gone and played in the 20s, 21s. And I felt I was kind of stopping another lad developing by doing that as well and not doing the right thing by people, which didn't really sit right with me, because you could see a lad disappointed if a lad come down and got dropped from first team and you sort of took that lad who'd been there week in, week out, his shirt, which I know it happens and that's life and you've got to get on with it. But then am I stopping that lad from developing? And at the end of the day, I wanted to play first team rugby. I thought I could play at championship. I still could do a job. So I just asked, could I go out on loan? So at the time, I just wanted to stay at North West. I just had our Caleb from my first child. I didn't want to be away from North West. So it was Swinton and Rochdale was in the championship at the time. It's probably between them two teams. And I went to Rochdale for 12 weeks, 12 games on loan, which I fully really enjoyed. They wanted to keep us on there, but then Duff's got the job at Swinton. So he then got in touch with us and said, would I come in and play for him, but also be his assistant coach, one of his assistants, and start that pathway, into that. So when I sat back and spoke at length with my missus and Rochdale and stuff and thought about it, and it just seemed, again, it was a good fit. John's still a very good friend of mine, and look out for each other. So we went down to League One, it was at the time. So probably a big step to drop out of the Championship, where you sort of see yourself as a Championship player, to drop down to League One. But we went down as a proviso. We were going to go up in year one with an objective. And we achieved that and got promoted. So into League One, and I got into Championship. But then it becomes hard again, doesn't it? Because then you're kind of coming in as the 12th or the 14th team within that Championship, and you're regarded as the team that everyone's going to turn over and stuff. So the battle was to stay up, which we fought, and we stayed up, and obviously learned some lessons along the way. And we've been very fortunate at Swinton to both John and myself to be involved in a partnership with Wigan Warriors, where obviously we've had access to players on dual registration, but also we've been able to bounce ideas off experienced coaches and go over and see facilities and watch training sessions and stuff, which is massive when you're learning. And anyone who asks me anything now, I'm big about giving back and helping others. And it's not, again, these are my tactics and that's it. Obviously, we've got our own tactics for games. Every coach is saying, but if I can help someone develop in any way, I always will do. And I think you get fed back that in other ways. And it's a big circle that feeds each other. So that's where we were up to. And then John got the opportunity to go to Featherstone. Featherstone come in and asked him to be a coach, which obviously he sat down with us. It was a bit of a shock to the system. And he said, I'm going to Fev. So it was myself and Jay at the time, who was assistant coaches. And John went over to Featherstone, which was a massive opportunity for himself. Being a full-time coach and probably working with a higher caliber of players and getting himself in a bigger shop window probably, and he did a tremendous job there. So John went over to there, and myself and Jay spoke and sat down with the board. Didn't know whether they were going to offer it to any of us or whether someone was going to be coming in. It's a bit of turmoil, to be fair. So we had the team for maybe, I don't know, I was expecting 1 or 2 weeks, and then before you come to a decision. It's pretty tricky, to be fair. So we got the job, and we had a few players injured at times. I think we were down to about 13 players, Woody, and it was about 10 days off. There was a deadline back then on transfers. So it was basically a case of we didn't have much money, we didn't have enough players, and it was sort of thrown straight in deep end, like I said before, and adapt to it. And as much as, I've done my level 3 coaching and I've done my university and I've got this education, it doesn't prepare you for that. It doesn't prepare you for, right, you've got 13 players for fixture and that's, you need 17. So just that pulled some favours in really, and with some friends and provide some opportunities to lads who wanted to run. So it was basically we needed to stretch out quickly and try and find who was out of contract or who wasn't happy where they were at and who wanted to come into the system and give it a crack into earning a contract, for year after and stuff like that, but buy into what we're about and where we wanted to go. And then the first couple of years at Swinton, it was pretty tough, mate, to be honest. We didn't have much budget. We had to recruit young lads because that sort of affects your budget where you're at and who you can attract to your club. We wasn't the most attractive club because we were one who just got promoted and were probably trying to stay up. So it's again, it's a circle and it's quite tough that, and it's getting that balance. And we had got some good young kids and we still do get good kids. What's significant about us at Swinton is where we are geographically, because we're sat in between Warrington, Wigan, St Helens, Leeds now Super League. So there's a lot of good kids there who don't get through these academies and stuff. And you know, and I know, there's kids who gets released from academies who's then made it somewhere else. Like
Matty Ashton at Warrington, the most recent one for you guys. What a find he was.
Oh, so Matty Ashton's a different story because in between that, I went working for RFL up in Rochdale doing a bit of development work when I was doing my degree and stuff. And coached like under 14 service area, and he was in that team up there. And obviously Matt Callan did a great job up with the Mayfield team up there, and then Matt, he used to play for the open age team, so we kept in contact with Matt and stuff. And then Matty actually went to Australia, and he just come back and just asked us for an opportunity, would he? And it just basically to come down and see where he was at. And obviously, we knew he was a good kid. We knew he had some real pace, and he come down and he backed himself, which is fair credit to the lad. You cannot. There's no one done more for Matty Ashton than Matty Ashton himself. You know, in his development, he comes, he's a sponge, he learns, he pushes himself, he wants to be better, he wants more information, and I can't give that lad enough as much credit that you can't give him it. To me, he should have probably got player of the year, never mind young player of the year in that championship. He was obviously top try scorer in the team that finished 9th. If you put him into one of them top teams, I remember watching an highlights reel, and fair play, Gaz O'Brien, don't get me wrong, is an outstanding player. But you put Matty Ashton at fullback for Toronto, I think he'd score a lot of tries as well. Do you know, with that team at the time, and that's nothing against Gaz O'Brien. I think he's an outstanding player. Just obviously with what he did for our club, and he's just exciting. Every time he got the ball, exciting. He still, even his first Super League game we watched Warrington-Wigan, Warrington chasing the game, they're looking to Matty Ashton to win it for him in his debut Super League game. Everything's a chip for Matty, get Matty ball. Do you know, because he's a threat. He's a genuine threat. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not putting any pressure on him, but if he works his way towards that World Cup squad, mate.
Yeah.
He's got potential for sneaking that. Do you know what I mean? He's an outside shot at the moment, but he has got the potential to get there.
Well, do you know what? I remember watching his debut because I do some hospitality for Warrington, so I go watching the games, and I remember watching him and thinking, wow, he doesn't look out of place at first. When they signed him from Swinton, I obviously knew he was a great prospect, and I'd seen some of his games, so I knew he had the potential, but I just didn't realise how early he'd take it. And so strong for his size, and you can, and they do rave about him. They do say that he does train hard and he wants to absorb the information that he's got. But I know, Stu, what your answer is going to be because I've read what you've said publicly as well. But you know, when you get hold of these players, I know that you want to develop them and you want to push them to that high standard. So, you know, my question was going to be, can it be frustrating though when you're developing players such as Matty Ashton and then obviously they're leaving you, and they're leaving a great big gap there for Swinton Lions, which is your primary purpose, really?
Yeah, it's tough. It's obviously we've had now going back to probably Andy Ackers. Andy Ackers come from Warrington and signed for Swinton before I got there, and he was there playing with myself. Just put a lot of work into Andy Ackers, and he went over to London, you know, and then progressed. He went to Toronto and then to Salford. So we've had Ackers, then we had Chris Atkin, who went through, and obviously then went to Ulkiar, got picked in the England night squad. He's now at Salford. Then Chris Hankinson, probably a similar profile, went released from Salford and released from Lee, went to Barrow, come to ourselves, and then went to Wigan. You know, off the back of that same year, we've had Matty Ashton and Frankie Alton. Frankie went over to Featherstone, obviously played for myself for Ireland and stuff. Again, two lads, Matty Ashton and Frankie Alton, when I signed them, people probably full of faces, saying I was signing two amateur kids, which by the back end of the year, they were probably the first two names on team sheet, you know. And it just shows that people come and obviously have some goals. And I just try and be honest with my lads, and like you can ask Chris Hankinson, and I'll sit down with them and tell them, obviously, there's certain teams we can compete with as a contract, and there's certain teams that we can't. And I just think I can't, as a coach, tell someone you should stay at Swinton Lions if Warrington Wolves are chasing you. I don't feel, ethically correct sitting down with a lad and stopping that progress. So we flip that and try and focus on the positive and the sell of that. So what Matty Ashton and Frankie Alton have given to us now is when I speak to amateur lads or lads at other teams or lads in academies, I say, look what they've done. And there's the proof, there's the sell. You can go to other places. We've had 5 in 5 years going to Super League and adding value in squads, not making numbers up, going to know what the lingo to talk with. Do you know what I mean? They understand the game. I like to say we've got processes in place as a club. We've not got everything where I want to be, and again, we're constantly developing. We developed off the pitch, like I said, with the gym, and developed off the pitch with some analysis systems, so GPS. We're trying to get things as professional as we can as a club. I want them lads to be in a professional environment. I sat down with the board. I said, end of the day, we've not got a millionaire, so we're not going to be able to throw loads of money at these lads. So you've got to make this learning environment the best environment for them, where they think they're progressing and they're learning and together and enjoy things. But then they can see a future, or they can see that we're going to grow as a club. Ideally, I'd like us to get to a position in a couple of years where we can compete at least with the other championship teams for them players, and they don't get taken by them. Obviously, you've got to know where you're at in a food chain. The Super League clubs are always going to take off the Championship clubs. The top-end Super League clubs take off the bottom-end Super League clubs. Same in football. Man United take Stoke City's players. Do you know what I mean? And that's in every walk of life. Even like obviously joiners and brickies, if you're really good at it, you get taken by a company, or depends what your aspirations are, you know, where you want to go. Again, it's a cliche, but I don't want lads to stop dreaming, because at the end of the day, like I say, as long as they come to Swinton, whether they do 1 year or 10 years, as long as they enjoy that time, they think they've learned, when they can look back and think, that was a great year that year. So I think Matty will always look back and say, whether he comes back to Swinton, you don't know, things go up full circle, you don't know if he'll come back at the end of his career, he might never come back, you know what I mean? He's a Swinton fan at the end of the day as well, but as long as he looks back and he thinks we had a right crack that year, I had a great year, and it set me on my pathway, then we've done a job as coaches as well. Do you know what I mean? With that, and trying to develop obviously lads, and like I said, we had a ethos where we went for younger lads and planted a few seeds, and we're starting to sprout a bit now. 2019, we won 10 out of the last 14 games, and probably the form team in the comp. You know, last year we had a bit of press about ourselves before obviously the season getting cut. The lads are getting a year older, a year more experienced, and we've been them places and had them beatings, and we're changing the perception of Swinton. So we're not Swinton now where it's a guaranteed 2 points for you, I'd like to think, and wherever we go now, we're going to compete with whoever's put in front of us. We showed that by obviously a 1 point defeat at Lee, which obviously still rankles me a bit that we didn't win that one. But a massive win at Toulouse away, a draw at Bradford away, you know, things that club's not done for years. 27 years, finished the highest in leagues, what they finished for 27 years, which again, I want to finish higher, and you've got to push things forward. I love Sean Wayne's ethos and how do we make things better. And not just that, as a person, obviously, everyone's got a perception of Wayne and that he's a big disciplinarian, but he's very emotionally intelligent, and he's with his players, and he's on side with that. And same, I'm a big vibing. A lad might need a bit of time off every now and again. A lad might need an arm around him. It's not all that, I'm coming in hard because I'm the top of this tree and I'm coming down hard. And I try to run things as strict as I can. But also we've got to balance on where them lads are coming from, what the picture is behind, what the lad's asking you for, and balance that out. So, I do feel Sean Dyche is another one. I listen to them podcasts with Damien Hughes and stuff, and people, they've got good standards and values, but it's also being a people person and knowing what makes people tick. Because, like I said, gone are days where you can come in screaming and shouting and that, because you just got to lose that dressing room.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you speak about this. It's something I speak a lot, quite regularly with people involved in sport, and no other than speak quite a lot to Paul Cullen still, and we're both doing Cull's done his counselling course, and I'm currently doing mine. And Cull was saying to me a couple of weeks ago that you know what, Woody? He said, I wish I'd have known a lot of this stuff when I was coaching, because it would have really enhanced. He said, and I look at the subject matter in the courses, and I can see that, you know, where it could have helped me in my coaching career. And I think there's a big thing in that. And we spoke to Wayne on here, and you know, it was quite well, no, not really. I wasn't surprised, but I think a lot of people were surprised when he actually said that, you know, players used to find it weird that he'd go round to the houses and just go and have a coffee and see if they was all right. Because we have this perception of Sean Wayne on Sky Sports that when he's been beat, he's this grumpy person. But you're right. I think the emotional intelligence and the way that he communicates with his players is a real positive for him. He's not just about firing players up, what people get that perception. He seems to have this emotional intelligence where he can get them lads to run through an absolute brick wall for him because they respect him and he's a fair person. And I think that's a great word that you would use with Sean, is that he seems to be a fair coach. You know, if you need that time off and you need that time away from training, and they can see that, they'll give it you. But, you know, straight away if people start taking advantage, I think that's when, you know, they pull away from them players.
Yeah. No, massively. And you spoke before about what probably moulded me, and the biggest thing what moulded me is having kids, mate, to be fair. And you know what I mean? It makes you grow up, it makes you become responsible, not about me no more, and about obviously providing my kids with a family life and a family home, and the monetary side of it as best you can. And I want them to have things that I didn't have, and I didn't have a bad childhood myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but you want your kids to have more than what you had, don't you? So yeah. That's massive for me. But then also providing them with a good role model, so they see that dad goes to work and, you know, tries his best. And guess what? We're going to fail at some things, and I probably read similar books to yourself on that mindset, and like your SAS characters, and Ant Middleton's, Goggins, and do you know what I mean? And you've got to fail. You've got to embrace that failure, because, like you said before, is that creates growth within a person. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to go any further than what you already are. If you think you know everything, then someone's going to come past you. You're going to stay where you are, and someone's going to come past you.
At Get a Tax Rebate, we make it easy for you or your business to claim back thousands of pounds in tax. Most people, like Jane and Philip, don't realise that they are owed money from HMRC, so they never claim. All you need to do is fill out a simple form on our website and we'll do the rest. It's that simple. We've also helped business owners claim back millions of pounds in research and development R&D tax credits. So if you're working in a business or own one, contact us today to see if we can help you claim back tax and improve your cash flow. Get a Tax Rebate, your tax refund concierge.
$18.95 Sports and State of Mind, the ultimate lineup.
Macy Vienna Aesthetics, based in Wigan. For all your wrinkle treatments, dermal fillers, lip enhancement, energy boost injections, immune boost injections. Please visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Macy Vienna Aesthetics.
CDX Security, proudly supporting rugby league.
Just something you said earlier as well, Stu, which I've never heard before, and took it down as a note. But your tribe creates your vibe,
yeah.
and that is such a powerful message, because I know, looking back on my career, the tribe and the players that you're surrounded with, they do say that you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
You know, that's a saying that's used a lot, but, you know, your tribe creates your vibe. I think that's massive. Is that something that you've took into your training culture as well?
Yeah, obviously. So the first thing I tried to create was that culture and create that environment. So it is, we wanted the players to come and want to learn and want to progress, which I've got now, as a group. So the lads come in now, they're doing extras straight away. They're coming in, they're doing whether it be prehab, rehab, whatever they're doing, but they're doing extras, they're doing extra weights, they're asking for extra sessions, which we had to build that. So it's where you build that from. It's a good book, Andy book on it's called Leadership Matters and that, and he breaks it down, performance and behaviours. He has them in 4 basically. So he'd have your saints, which is saints, all your behaviours are good and the key performers, so star performers at your team. Then you'd have obviously, sorry, that's your stars. Then you'd have your saints. So your saints will be all the behaviours will be right. Your stars are the standouts. So everything cultural wise, everything performance wise, they're hitting and they're up there. Then you have your saints who buy into everything you're about as a coach and as a culture, but probably don't get that performance quite right. Then you'd have your sinners, which obviously are people who don't really buy into the culture but can perform, which you'd have played with a few players like that yourself, and obviously I did as well. And then you probably he creates his bottom group as the sloths. So the sloths don't buy into the behaviours but also aren't performing, and they're probably the ones you need to probably get out your organisation and fill more, train the saints up to be stars because they're buying into what you're about and stuff. Again, Damien Hughes, one of his books is Barcelona Way, and he said something with Pep Guardiola at rings home. He said when Pep Guardiola come in at Barcelona, he said the first goal that they scored, he turned around and just looked at his bench, and he said 3 of them didn't jump up.
Yeah.
And he said them 3 wasn't there at end of the year. Because he said not for the journey. He just said right, it tells you something about them. So yeah, we're in a cutthroat environment, Woody, you know that, I know that. And today I've got 27 lads this year and I keep telling them 27 into 17 does not fit. I can't work magic. You just got to be honest with the group. Make them all buy into that culture. Make them all that you're trying to create better people, better rugby players. And yeah, you do get that vibe from your tribe. I don't know where I nicked it from. Like anything, I did nick it from somewhere, either a podcast.
Hey, it's a good one, that. It's a good one. I'm definitely taking that one.
Yeah, so just nick it and refabricate it as a Woody quote. No worries. No, but yeah, like I said, the High Performance podcast with Damien Hughes, there's some great people been on that, and I'm a rugby nerd anyway. I've always have been, but I'm a sport nerd. And like I look at other people and like success leads crumbs, done it. Like Damien Hughes says all the time, success leads crumbs. So why is he successful, Guardiola? Why is Sean Wayne successful? Do you know what I mean? Big one now. I hate Liverpool as a Man United fan, but I think Jurgen Klopp's been outstanding. Obviously, he's got a testing time at the moment, but there's things you can pick up. I watched that documentary of him over the week just to see how he goes about his work with his group, because he's won at best. He's won Champions League, do you know what I mean? So he's won at best. You've got to learn. Like, I'd like to be, obviously, I find it hard sometimes because I work all day and then train at night. So I'd love to be able to go more environments and look at these high-class coaches, do you know. My missus hates it when I go watching rugby because I get her in for warm-up before a game and make her freezing because I'm watching it, we're missing anything or anything. Saying, what are you watching here, Stu? Just watching some drills in warm-up. But yeah, that's just how it is. And it is, you'll be involved yourself. Like, lads are easily led. Do you know what I mean? If everyone's going to pub, someone might be a strong character instead of not going, but some of us might get, they're going with them. And that sometimes that can create your team as well. I'm not saying no one can go pub because that's good togetherness and stuff, which when they stay longer and someone's not controlling that environment and stuff and people start making wrong decisions, we've got to try and educate younger lads, which they have got now. They've got miles more education than what we had when we were players and that, and you're coming through. There's more science behind it. There's more information on what creates that optimum performance. When we started, mate, it was probably lads went out after a game. That's what it was. Do you know, there's not as many now going out after games, and people doing the right thing with recovery processes and ice baths and compression garments and eating right. Yeah. So it has moved miles from where it was. And do you know what I mean? Last few years, it's going next level with some of the stuff what's been introduced, like you said before, educational wise. But even with us this year with that GPS now, having that, so there's no hiding places. It's not just my eyes anymore. So it's my eyes and my coach's eyes, but also there's a GPS there telling me, Woody, you've only covered 5K and he's covered 8K, so you're telling me you're better than him.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It's just touched on something there, going back to what you said, Damien Hughes. Fortunate enough to work with Damien for about 4 years at the Warrington Wolves with Tony Smith. And one thing that they brought in is that, if you weren't picked in the team, is that you had a bigger impact than anybody else. Because if for example, not that it ever happened to me, I would never drop, but but when you do, if your form does dip and Tony comes up to you 1 week and says, you know what, Woody, I'm going to give you a week off this week because I feel like you've dipped a bit, he would say to you, but you'll play a bigger role than the lads on the field because you've now got to prep these lads for this game that's coming up. And it was a big responsibility that he used to put on you. And I used to think it was a test to see your reaction. So if your reaction was negative and you'd walk around with your head down in training, that's not acceptable because, you're a team player. It's not just about you and you getting in that team. It's about the team winning that particular game. And, Tony would say some weeks that, sometimes I won't play players, not because their form's dipped, but just because I think that a better player suits the opposition.
Yeah.
There were times where Adrian Morley and Gaz Carvell would sit on bench and I would start with, say, Mike Cooper or Dave Solomona just because he felt that would be a better tactic than, doing it the previous way with Gaz and Moz starting 1 week. So, there's a big challenge there for players when you get dropped to make sure that your enthusiasm doesn't drop around the place.
No, that's outstanding. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because obviously the toughest bit of your job as a coach is telling someone they're 18th or 19th man and they're in that 19-man squad, but they've not made it, or at back end of year when the club might be going in a different direction and you got to release someone. They're the toughest bits of the job. And do you know what I mean? Like I said before, is you are emotionally intelligent. I've been in that place myself. It's not the best news to hear. You've been there yourself and someone's told you're not in team. Do you know what I mean? But end of the day, you can't really sugarcoat it. And as long as you've got some reasoning behind it, whether that be, like you said, my team probably at Whitehaven away, we went to the first game of last year and it was wintry conditions. That team would have been completely different than the team I picked for Whitehaven at home, say it was in summer. Again, there's certain environments where your team's it's dictated, it's different, isn't it, to you? And I'm a big believer in that. And also as well, it's now with balancing that squad with people not having reserves and stuff like that, then can you let lads go 6 or 7 weeks, especially in it's not as bad in the backs, but in forwards, if you know yourself, you go 6 or 7 weeks without contact and I throw you in, start missing a couple of tackles, and then I totally get it when the lad says to me, I wasn't ready for that game, but I said, well, I can only judge off what's been, I don't know, someone might have been suspended before, Woody, and you've got your chance this week, you've gone in, you've not played for 7 weeks, you missed a few tackles, he's back from suspension next week, he's coming back in into because he's not done that. But I fully get that the lad would say, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But you're trying to create your training environment to be the best you can and raise them levels and standards within training. That's what I said as a group. And I was a centre, I need the centre behind me, pushing me. I need some threat to think, if I don't play well, he's going to take my spot this week or next week. Or you need that other centre competing against you in training. You need someone behind you. Because if someone's not pushing you, we've all been in a place where you probably nailed on that you're in that 17 and you get a bit complacent. I know just personal standards and people would drive that and cultural architects would always be constantly driving that. But there's other players who wouldn't be in that and they'd think, I'm in this 17, I'm not getting dropped. And they get comfy in the environment and not challenging themselves. And to get better, like you said before, you need to struggle at times. And sometimes it might be a kick up arse that I have been dropped. And my place isn't untouchable in this team no more. Do you know what I mean? And it's not nice, but it's reality. And it's how you then react to that, which I like that what you said about Tony and seeing testing out how people react to it, because you do see as well who is for the team and who is just for Stuart Littler or for Paul Wood.
Yeah, do you know what? It happened to me that I always remember in 2012. I was a regular. I've been a regular in Warrington for 12 years at that point. I could count on one hand how many times I got dropped, but Tony had never dropped me within 2 years of him being at the club. And in 2012, he had about 3 performances which were below average, and he dropped me. And it was, funnily enough, it was at Salford away. It was, and he dropped me. And I knew the week after it was a Challenge Cup final. And I do believe there was a bit of a test there to see my reaction and the character. Luckily enough, I did get back in the Challenge Cup semi-final, but I just thought, fuck me, that is a big kick up the arse that I needed. And you know what he did say to me? He said, I know you're better than this, but I can't not drop you, and I want you to use it as a kick up your arse. So I just absolutely ripped in that week at training, prepped the lads the best they can, and fortunately I did play again the week after. But complacency does set in. I don't care who it is, and forms dips. Even the world's best players forms dips. You know what I mean? I've been fortunate enough to play with Andrew Johnson and Alan Langer, who have all said the same thing. That they've had periods through their career where they thought, fuck me, am I doing the right thing? You know what I mean? And the performances have dropped and a lot of self-doubts come in.
No, it does, doesn't it? And obviously, did he speak to you before that I just dropped you that week? Did he speak to you the weeks previously? Like, did he say it's not quite where I need it, or did it?
Yeah, to be fair, mate, he did, because Tony were very good with that. After every game, he would grab you individually during training and just pull you to the side. And sometimes it was just, you know what, did good, carry on, same again next week. And sometimes it was, I think you need to improve that this week. And there was a couple of conversations that we had, and I got complacent, if I'm honest. There's no excuses. I got complacent. I just didn't think I was going to get dropped. And, I had that conversation, and then he had the tough conversation, which he said to me. He said, you know what, this is a fucking tough conversation with you, but I have to drop you. But do you know what? The other thing as well with Tony is that you couldn't take it personal, because I don't know if you wouldn't have been there then, Stu. You would have still been at Salford. But Adrian Morley and Lee Breers went to Swinton on dual reg because he was coming back from injury. So there were no favouritisms. Everybody was treated pretty much the same respect. So I couldn't kick off then and say to Tony, do you know what, Tony? Well, you won't fucking do that with Lee Breers or Adrian Morley, because he'd done it. So yeah, I think for me, Tony's like one of the best coaches I've worked with in terms of the man management. And he talked about empathy as well. I think that that intelligence, that emotional intelligence, I felt like it. That was one of his strong points, certainly at coaching.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a great environment. That, to be fair, mate.
So what's been your biggest lesson, Stu? Do you think, as a player, like, and you're going into your coaching role, what would you say has been the biggest lesson for you taking into your coaching role? And that might be you as a player, because you might have made some mistakes and you think, do you know what, I'm going to advise these players not to do the same as me. Or it might be, working with a specific coach and think, do you know what, I'm never going to be like that guy.
It's tough on just a specific one for Neil. They do, obviously, every coach, you pick up good things and probably things what you think, I wouldn't have done it that way, Again, working in education's helped me massively. I work on pastoral side, so people's coming from all different environments, backgrounds, and you've got to drop your values and beliefs, and because some people don't have them, and some families that work completely different than what you see as a normal synergy for a family. So that has helped massively. Like I said, having kids was massive for me. Changed my total thought process in life, to be fair, which it does to anyone. Probably a bit of a larrikin, or whatever you want to call it, when I was younger, and again, got involved in sometimes probably not the right thing to do. Other times, just being one of the lads and happy to have a crack and stuff like that. But again, that's moulded. I don't regret anything what I've done, and that's moulded who I've become. I challenge myself all the time to be better. So I challenge my players. That's a big one. I challenge my players and my staff constantly. I give them as much as I can give them. I stay up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, clipping videos. If they ask me for something, I'll give it them. Do you know? So it is being relentless. Would be a big thing. To be relentless and obsessed with what we do. I want to be good at what we do. You know, I have pride. I have pride in what we do. Don't want to lose anything. So big thing is we tried to make everything competitive. Looked into Pete Carroll at Seattle Seahawks. And he says obviously win forever, but you had some competing on everything, like we talked about before, with you saying that such a body was behind you're not in team. You then got to go and compete with him to be in that team. So I said, obviously, this year is totally different than any other year. Next week, we'll probably have an in-house game in our training, just because we're not going to get enough friendlies in this year. And I said to the lads yesterday, I said, I want you to take it personal. Yeah. And because like I said before, he's 27, doesn't go into 17. So you got to show me next week who wants to be here. And we can all train and be nice in training and stuff like that. But it's what happens on pitch that counts. I want that togetherness. I want that I always on at my staff. Smile. We need smile. I need them to enjoy coming to Swinton. Need them. If you're coming after work, you're giving a lot up anyway. You know, Woody, you've done it yourself. I know you've not done it all your life, like myself and stuff. But it's tough. Sometimes you've been at work all day. Every lad's got a different job. Some are sat behind a desk, and that's mentally challenging. Some are grafting and digging holes and building walls and knocking walls down. How do you motivate that lad? So you've got to come and enjoy it, haven't you? You've got to come and think. There's 1, 2 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours here where I'm away from family. I'm with lads. I can have crack, but also I can rip in and work hard. And at the end of it, we'll get some winning pay and we'll achieve something. Might get a bit better. Some of them, want to progress and get to Super League. Some lads probably don't now. You know, different ages. Some lads in our team would have a good job and probably be on an all right contract. And do you know what I mean? And they probably may not want to go to Super League. There's other lads at the younger end of the spectrum. Yeah, they're still dreaming for Super League. That's the balance. And obviously, the further we get out of the league is a bit not unfair, but unbalanced. The top teams get a lot more money than the bottom teams, so it's tough until you start climbing league, which you started progressing a little bit. I'd like to get a little bit further. Nobody knows currently what the landscape looks like next year until this broadcast deal gets nailed or until there's any further information. We're hoping as a club we know where we're playing for and where we're aiming before the season starts. But again, transparency and honesty. I'm always honest with lads. Whatever I get passed down, I share with them within reason. But do you know what I mean? It's the more people know where we're at or where they're at individually. That's why I asked that question before. About did he speak to you? Just because if I touch base with someone, it's I don't know. It's Rod Lloyd, for instance, vice captain, and I said to him, "You're not performing this week, Rod." He's probably already got it a bit in bank, but he gets another crack at it. But if he's not performing then again, and I've told him, then he can't come back at me and say, "Well, you just dropped me straight off." And I never, because some people don't perceive or see what I'm seeing or what the coaching staff are seeing, and you probably think you've played at an 8 out of 10, where rest of lads or coaches think you're a 6 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? And it's getting that accountability and that honesty and that ownership from group that they do know. And some people you could still tell them and they still think they're an 8 or 9. Do you know, and that's the personality. And you could say, well, you're a 6 or a 2, mate, you know what I mean? And still think that, or a 10. Like, do you know, you've had lads like that. And it's getting that balance, because we, as a club, we need everyone to be performing between that probably 7 and 9, do you know, every week.
Yeah, and so many characters as well in the team, because like you said, you can speak to some lads and they probably say for argument's sake they're performing at a 6. They'll look at the performance and go, well, no, I think that's bullshit. I think that's an 8. And then you've got the complete opposite, where some lads will be like an 8, and they'll give themselves give themselves a 4 or a 6. You know what I mean? And they'll outdo the performance. They'll say, "Oh, it wasn't even that good." So it's a balancing act. I think you've got to. For me personally, playing Super League for majority of my career, being at Warrington for 16 years, then going to Fev, and then going to Swinton for that short time, it puts things into perspective, that, because you don't realise how tough it is to do a day's work and then to go and do what the Championship lads do. You know, it's a big, big commitment, and it brings, I think, for me personally, it brings a completely different style of, not coaching, but you've got to manage your players completely different than in a Super League environment.
No, definitely. And like I say, some of our lads earn a lot more money on the jobs than what they earn at rugby. Some lads earn a bit more money at rugby, do you know what I mean? But that's, again, it's a balance, and there's priorities, and nobody wants anyone's family struggling at this moment in time. Everyone's priority, I would imagine, is the family, first of all, and providing for that family. So we've got to obviously respect that, and that's what I said is, if you build that honesty within your group, then hopefully they are all honest on that well-being. And again, Mark's in with the data analysis. If that's telling us they need a rest, they're telling us they need a rest. We're all seeing they need a rest, and quite obviously they need a rest, you know what I mean? But it's just trying to combat all them variables and come up with the right thing. Like I said, over here when we had that success, we went down to 45-minute sessions, us. And I just wanted it short, sharp, get it in, get it done. Middle of summer we was on 45-minute sessions, get it done, and then get out of there. Just try and keep bodies fresh. It's tough. It's tough to play 30-odd games in Super League. Never mind that's when you've got right recovery. You've got all ice baths, steaming, saunas, massage, everything. It's tough then, but obviously some of these lads, especially the Easter period, used to be tough because play Friday, Monday. And you're part-time, so you don't really want to bring them in all the time because you can't, because they need some time with the families and stuff because they're working as well. And then it's just tough, especially the one after, and then because the lads are going straight work on that Tuesday after that Easter Monday game, straight into work. You can't really do a lot on that Tuesday after that because they've played, and then you're rolling into Thursday depending on where that game is. Like over here we went to Toulouse on a Saturday after an Easter period, and you're like, wow. Put a plane in there as well and manage that. But again, rugby lads are durable and they're adaptable, aren't they? And to be fair, to credit to most of the game, I'd say they attack whatever's thrown in front of them, which everyone's had to do over the last year. So full credit to them all.
Stu, what's last question, mate? But what's your future aspirations? What do you aspire to be? Do you aspire to enhance your career in terms of your education, or do you aspire to be a Super League coach? Do you have any targets or plans?
So fun. I'm in a good place, like I said. Probably balanced. I've worked hard off pitch to get my degree, get my PGC and stuff. And on the pathway within education, which is probably a steady career, for the rest of your life, with a pension and stuff. But then on the other foot, I enjoy coaching. I love coaching boys. I love rugby. I love being around boys. Like anything, you've got to strive to be the best you can be. Obviously, I don't know what the future holds regarding opportunities and stuff. Massive one for myself this year is the World Cup. I want to obviously perform in that World Cup. Again, there's some lads who's got us there, and do you know what I mean? And there's loyalties and stuff, and we're good, but also we're about winning games. We've got to be about performing and putting out the best team to do that job. So it's finding that balance again. But a big thing is obviously competing against them world-class teams. New Zealand, obviously Jamaica's got to be very competitive. Lebanon have been competitive now for the last few years. We've got an opportunity in that group to get out of the group. If we can get to quarterfinals, then it's anybody's game into on a quarterfinal, and you see where we go. We're not getting above ourselves. I'm not about that. You're about the next game next week, and that'll look after itself. As I said to all the boys, you need to be playing consistent. You need to be playing, and that's what the team will be selected on. The team will be selected on the lads who's doing the job at the time. He's done the job consistently over the season. That's the only way we can ride into that. So sitting on fence a bit with your question.
So you got to answer my question or not?
No, but quite obviously, yeah, you would like to be a coach at some point. it's a learning process. I've done a lot of learning myself. I'm still learning. So just say that one goes. I'm quite happy at Swinton. It's not saying anything like I want to leave, anything like that. Like I said before, being a bit of a book nerd is like that legacy book with the All Blacks and stuff. And that's what I want to players all the time is you don't own that jersey. Like that jersey will move on. I'm not the coach of Swinton now for the rest of my life. Like at some point, either they'll sack me or you might move on. ND contracts and stuff, that happens in life, do you know what I mean? But as long as you can leave it in a better place than what you picked it up in, so it's building them other things on the back of it, which Wayne spoke about with that good to great and that level 5 leadership. And if you've got them systems then in place, then that club should be able to like run itself, or someone steps into a club in a lot better position than where it's been previously. So that's what I'd like to leave. If I ever do leave, do you know what I mean, and stuff, and that's what I'm about. And as long as all them lads that we've been through said they've had a good time at Swinton and they learnt and I helped X, Y and Z progress in their careers, then we've had impact, haven't we, as coaches? But yeah, I have got aspirations like any person, but also, like I said before, the first thing in my mind is always my family. So it'll be the best decision what suits my 2 kids and my wife and myself, do you know. I'm not don't put myself first anymore.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I think everything you said there, I think like you've hit the nail on the head, because, you know, I'm a big believer in that. If you do those things, what you've just said, you know, you give a good time to the lads, you know, they enjoy it, you know, your work ethic's good and the honesty's there and you create a good culture. You know, on the back of that, I think the bigger things do come. You know, you're focusing on those little foundations there that are going to instill the big things. So, you know, I think it's massive, mate. And I think, you know, so far you've done a great job at Swinton. Like I say, you know, I was massively impressed working with you. I know it was only 4 games, but ended up...
good and
yeah, they were 4 blinders, yeah. But yeah, I mean, did my rib cartilage up at Barrow, which was brilliant. And, you know, going back to being part-time player then, go at work Monday morning with a busted rib cartilage trying to pick up kitchen appliances. I'm like, fuck, this is like... And that again was a learning curve. Do you know what I mean? It makes you realise how fortunate you've been to play a full career at a Super League club, be full-time. You know, in that situation, having a burst rib cartilage, you sat on a physio bed next day for a couple of hours, you know what I mean? And you're getting looked after where, you know, them lads are doing it tough. They're doing it really tough. And they must have a real love and a real passion for the game. And like you touched on there, they must be enjoying the time at Swinton to do that. You know, they really have. But, you know, I think you're doing a great job down there, mate. I'm sure you'll leave a legacy. And, you know, what impresses me more than anything is the fact that when players do leave, that you always give them them big raps and say, you know, that it's about the lads and it's about the progression and stuff like that. I love that because it's such an unselfish act. You know, it shows that you're not putting yourself first, you're putting the players first. I think there's a lot of credibility in that. That'll attract players to Swinton, which you touched on again.
No, definitely massively agree what you're saying. Like when people like yourself come in, we've now got Martin Vidyard, you know, got some experienced lads who come in, and the lads they're keen, they just want to learn off them people who's been around them situations, especially, like I said, we was on the younger side as a group, and having like yourself, you know, Andy Braychecks, Martin Vidyard, lads who's been around and been around game and the passed their knowledge on to these lads and hopefully helps them in transitioning to their next steps. Big one with Matty was when he went over, as I said, obviously Stefan's a good friend of mine, and I said, there's no one better, Matty, for you to learn off now than Steph Ratchford. So I was honest with him at first. I said, I don't see you playing before him at the moment. But I just said, obviously, you've got to get yourself in front of him.
Yeah.
So, but I said, use him as a sponge, because obviously Steph nails his role, whether it be kicking, running, obviously a missed pass on the edge and that, and nails his role consistently, you know, week in, week out. Working with Brieze will be massive for Matty on that next level. He's on a journey, and like I say, he's a special kid. But again, I'd like fair credit to all our lads. They've all been on a journey with me, and whatever credit you give me there is down to the lads, but again, down to the staff what I've built, because again, my staff give up a lot of time. I message them at different times. I'm a weirdo. Bouncing ideas, always for the lads and stuff, but I probably have high expectations as a coach, as of my staff. You know, I think we should be there before players. We leave after players. Just little things. We should be set up, ready for the players. We should know what we're doing. We should be able to adapt every club standard. We should, obviously, we should be setting them values first. We should be demonstrating them. If we're not demonstrating, how can we expect someone else buy into them? If I'm not being honest with you, I can expect you to be honest with me. Yeah. So, no, again, big learning process. A big believer in reading books and you know, and broadening your knowledge on stuff. And yeah, I'll keep listening. Hopefully, next few weeks now we should have some more rugby we can look at, mate. Anyway, and get back to looking at some stuff on that rather than just reading books on mindset and leadership and that.
I know, that's it. Everyone's going to be like have a PhD in leadership when we go back, because that's all I've been doing, looking at that type of stuff, psychology, counselling, everything. But it's again, it's just times we're in. There's not much more we can do. So you're right. Hopefully, the next couple of weeks, you know, we can get this rugby league back going and get some coaching back done. So missing it myself. I do a bit of coaching at Ashton Burrs, and you know, it'd be good to get back down with the lads. All lads have still got the banter going in the WhatsApp group, but it's tough not when it's taken away from you. I think it's made people appreciate what they've got, you know, in terms of the rugby and the community and the camaraderie and stuff, and you know, just keeps you sane, doesn't it, as well, you know, being around the lads.
No, definitely agree with what you said. At the day, there's positives and negatives, like I said before, and my positive was I spend a lot more time with my family, what I didn't usually get. So I looked at it on that side, especially through last summer when we was off and it was nice weather and you're having barbecues and stuff like that. Yeah. Spent some time there with my family, but you know what I mean? I would never have been there because I've been at work and out at Swinton and stuff like that. So I embraced that and stuff, but you know, flipping on its head now, it is time to hopefully get back. Hopefully tomorrow he maps out how that looks moving forwards, but just hoping there's no hiccups on the way and we can get back up and running. Massive credit, like I said, on social media to yourself and people obviously keeping the game in people's eyes, because it's been a long time. I know Super League got back up and running, but I paid respect to Matt Shaw and all the reporters from League Express, because I was just saying they've done a tremendous job, because they've not had much for it right about, and for keep obviously putting some news out and drip feeding stuff out, because everybody recruited early this time because nobody had anything else to do. Everyone recruitment were done, obviously, and then it's what you talk about, because there's usually friendlies at this time and stuff like that, and giving you talking points for yourself and whoever is commentating on games, and so it's just been massive credit. Everyone's ripped in, like you said, but that I think everyone has embraced it, and that togetherness should see us as a game move the game forwards. I love the game, you love the game, do you know what I mean? And all we want to see is success. Hopefully over the next few years we can start climbing some mountains and putting the game to where it should be. Yeah,
well, fingers crossed. This is the challenge now, and we keep saying, you know, is this going to be the year? Is this going to be the time? And hopefully, you know, Rugby League gets some credit that it's due. So, Stu, I appreciate your time, mate. I'm not gonna keep you any longer, but it's much appreciated. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, pal. All the best for everything as well.
Thank you.